Welcome to our session on modernizing the ID process. I'm Charles Reigeluth.
And I'm Yunjo. Many ID models have been developed, including the ADDI model, Deacon-Carey model, Morrison-Ross and Kemp model, rapid prototyping, design layering, and the pebble in the pond model. These ID models are briefly described in the first chapter of our new book.
The first question you might have is, why another ID model? Over the past 20 years, knowledge about learning, instructional strategies, technological tools, and ID processes has advanced considerably, but most ID process models have not kept pace. This prompted the U.S. Air Force to hire one of us for a year to update their ID process model. We have since revised and expanded that model into one that has many novel features to greatly improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the ID process and the resulting instruction. These 10 features will be described in this presentation. But first, here is a graphic of the model. It is called the Holistic 4D model because it takes a holistic approach to instructional design, represented by the 3 levels of design shown here, and it is organized into 4 major activities: define, design, develop, and deploy. Note that it has cycles within each of the 4 major activities, such that analysis, design, and evaluation, major parts of the ADDI model, occur iteratively at each level of design. In fact, evaluation occurs in all 4 activities, the 4 Ds. Now let's look at the 10 prominent features of the holistic 4D model in some detail. One important feature is guidance for teaching topic expertise as well as task expertise. Due to their behaviorist roots, most ID models look at all that is to be learned as tasks. So the primary analysis is task analysis. That works well in most training contexts, but not so well in many educational contexts where topics reign supreme. Analysis and design activities need to be quite different when the learning is focused on topic expertise. The holistic 4D model provides guidance for developing both task and topic expertise. Here are some matched examples of the 2 major kinds of expertise. Biology is descriptive, whereas medicine is goal-oriented. Physics is descriptive, while engineering is goal-oriented. And in our field, learning theory is descriptive, and instructional theory is goal-oriented.
When an ID project tries to complete all the analysis before doing any design, some things get analyzed that are not needed, and some things that are needed do not get analyzed. Also, memories fade when a lot of time passes between the analysis and the use of its results in design. Therefore, the holistic 4D model offers guidance for just-in-time analysis. Similarly, it helps to do some formative evaluation of each design decision as soon as possible, so any improvements can be incorporated into future design decisions. Thus, we offer guidance for cycles of analysis, design, and evaluation that use just-in-time analysis and immediate evaluation for your design decisions. This makes the ID process more efficient and effective. We also offer templates for recording the results of the ADE activities available to download from our website. These templates greatly facilitate the process of documenting the results of the design process, including important analysis and formative evaluation results. To address the problem of fragmented and cookie-cutter instruction, the holistic 4D model uses a holistic design process. Rather than beginning the design process by analyzing the content into small pieces and designing instruction for each of those pieces, it begins with a top-level design that creates a fuzzy vision of both the content and methods. This is followed by a mid-level design that works out more detail on the fuzzy vision. Finally, low-level design fills in all the details for both content and methods. This allows for more creativity in the design process and more coherence in the resulting instruction. We will say more about each level of the ADE process later in this presentation.
The biggest influence on the quality of the instruction you design is the instructional methods you choose. Therefore, instructional theory is integrated into the holistic 4D model. That integration improves the efficiency of the ID process and the effectiveness of the resulting instruction. Schema theory has helped us understand that learning is improved when it occurs within a meaningful context of broader and more inclusive knowledge. Hierarchical sequences that begin with small component skills and proceed to combine them into ever larger skills violate this important principle of learning. The holistic 4D model provides guidance for designing holistic instructional sequences that don't ignore the existence of learning prerequisites. For task expertise, the guidance is to begin with a simple real-world version of the task, and then gradually elaborate to progressively more complex versions. For topic expertise, you begin with broader, more inclusive understandings, and then gradually elaborate to progressively more narrow and detailed ones. There is growing recognition of the power of learning by doing, which includes project-based, problem-based, inquiry-based, maker-based, and task-based learning, especially when combined with competency-based, personalized, collaborative, self-directed, and anytime, anywhere instruction. Yet the guidance for designing such learner-centered instruction can be difficult to find. Therefore, the holistic 4D model includes guidance for designing such instruction, thereby helping designers to make their instruction more motivational and effective.
The holistic 4D model includes more guidance about how to identify non-instructional interventions to improve performance, thereby enhancing performance and avoiding the development of instruction when other interventions are more effective. The model also includes more guidance for using either of two kinds of rapid prototyping: quantitative reduction or qualitative reduction. Quantitative reduction involves creating a prototype that is one representative part among all the parts of the instruction, whereas qualitative reduction entails creating a prototype that is a quick and dirty version of the entire instruction. Of course, the two approaches can be used together too. Rapid prototyping increases the efficiency of the ID process.
Designers use objectives to help guide the design of their instruction, and learners sometimes benefit from objectives to help guide their learning. The problem is that different kinds of information are needed for these two different purposes. Designer objectives help the designer to design. They document information that can help designers to create objectives, tests, and instruction. Their most helpful components are behaviors, conditions, and standards. On the other hand, learner objectives are intended to help learners to learn. They give the learner a sense of what they are about to learn. The holistic 4D model provides guidance for the design of these two very different types of objectives. Furthermore, learner objectives are typically very abstract to learners, and thereby do not give a very clear idea of what they are about to learn. Hence, we provide guidance for designing a more concrete and useful kind of learner objective that we call a demonstration objective.
It is important to conduct formative evaluations of the instruction you are designing, but it is also important to conduct formative evaluations of the ID process you are using. The holistic 4D model provides guidance for both kinds of evaluation and when to do them throughout the ID process, not just at the end. Of course, we also provide guidance for summative evaluation when the instructional system is implemented. Developmental evaluations are done before implementation, whereas operational evaluations are done after implementation. The top-level ADE activities begin with determining a fuzzy vision of what to teach within either task or topic expertise. Then it determines a fuzzy vision of the methods or overall instructional approach. Sometimes it is helpful to do these first two activities simultaneously, or at least iteratively. And the top-level ADE activities conclude with formative evaluation and revision, primarily in the form of expert review. Top-level ADE activities are not a linear process. You are encouraged to use this model flexibly rather than trying to complete the activities in a linear manner. Also, a top-level analysis is not required if the major content and methods have already been identified. Now let's look at these activities in a little more detail.
For selecting and sequencing a fuzzy vision of task or topic expertise, topic expertise can be broken down in a similar manner to task expertise. On the top level, you break a job down into duties, then break each duty down into tasks. Similarly, you break a domain down into subjects and each subject into topics. What's considered a duty in one course might be considered a task in another, and the same holds for topic expertise. That's as far as you go for the top-level analysis, and it allows you to now decide on a sequence for teaching the tasks or topics. This is also far enough for you to come up with a fuzzy design for the instructional methods. That fuzzy design includes such considerations as whether to use a mastery approach, whether to use a learner-centered approach, and if so, what kind of learning by doing to use, which pacing strategy to use, which delivery method and media to use, and which course management system or template to use. Many good instructional designers intuitively do this kind of top-level design in their heads, but this formalizes the process and improves its effectiveness.
The mid-level ADE activities provide the next level of clarity about the vision for each task or topic. They begin with a more detailed selection of content and its sequence. This is done differently for task and topic expertise, so our guidance is tailored to each. Versions are identified for each task, and applications are identified for each topic. Next, designer objectives are developed, followed by learner objectives and assessments. Then you design the ways that learning by doing will be accomplished, again with different guidance for applications of topics than for versions of tasks. This is followed by guidance for selected media of a preliminary or fuzzy level. And the mid-level activities conclude with a formative evaluation of your mid-level design decisions and a revision of your project management plan. Keep in mind that mid-level ADE activities are not a linear process. You are encouraged to use this model flexibly rather than trying to complete the activities in a linear manner. Now let's look at these activities in a little more detail.
The mid-level ADE activities provide the next level of clarity about the vision for each task or topic. They begin with a more detailed selection of content and its sequencing. This is done differently for task and topic expertise, so our guidance is tailored to each. Versions are identified and sequenced for each task, and applications are identified and sequenced for each topic. Next, designer objectives are developed by identifying variations within each version or application and categorizing the difficulty of each. Variations exist in the desired behaviors, the conditions, and the standards, as shown here for the example of teaching someone to drive a car. For topic expertise, you identify the types of understanding that need to be developed. which are primarily causal models or conceptual models, but might include models of natural processes, like the stages of information processing. And you identify variations in the ways those understandings can be applied. Next, you develop learner objectives and assessments. Typically, the objective will take the form of a demonstration objective rather than the more well-known abstract objective. It provides a prototypical demonstration of what the learner will be able to do rather than just a statement of what the learner will be able to do. The assessments are typically criterion referenced rather than norm referenced, and they are typically performance-based rather than predictive. Then you design the ways that learning by doing will be accomplished, again with different guidance for applications of topics than for versions of tasks. For tasks, we offer guidance for deciding on the number of projects, the environment for each project, the scenario for each project, and other details for the design of each project, roles, tools, etc. For topics, we similarly offer guidance for the number of applications, the environment and scenario for each, and the details for each application. Mid-level ADE activities also include guidance about preliminary media selection, still on a pretty fuzzy level. We include information about types of media and rules for media selection. And the mid-level activities conclude with two things. First is a formative evaluation of your mid-level design decisions by subject matter and instructional experts, preferably ones who have experience teaching the content to the target learners. Second is a revision of your project management plan.
Lower-level ADE activities involve completing the detailed blueprint for the instruction, and some development activities are typically done at the same time. They begin by selecting and sequencing all the content to be taught. This includes organizing content, which is used to form the basic structure and sequence of the instruction, and supporting content, which is plugged into the sequence of organizing content wherever it is most appropriate, typically in a just-in-time manner. Organizing content is like a skeleton of a body, whereas supporting content is like the flesh on the skeleton, and includes information, understandings, skills, and attitudes. The next activity is to determine the kind of learning for each piece of content, because that strongly influences the design of instruction for each. But before designing the instruction, it is helpful to check on your resource requirements and their availability, and also to see if there is existing instruction that fits your situation. Then you can elaborate your mid-level designs for instruction, media, and assessments to the full level of detail needed for developing the instruction. Keep in mind that lower-level ADE activities are not a linear process. You are encouraged to use this model flexibly and iteratively rather than trying to complete the activities in a linear manner.
Lower-level ADE activities begin with making the final detailed selection and sequence of the content for each version of the task or each application of the topic. For tasks, the organizing content can range from purely procedural, where experts think in terms of steps, to purely heuristic, where experts think in terms of principles and rules of thumb. For topics, the organizing content can be conceptual, which is concerned with understanding what is, or theoretical, which is concerned with understanding why, causes and effects. Based on the kind of organizing content, you then design a sequence for it, and you select the supporting content. You determine the kind of learning for the supporting content, because that strongly influences which instructional methods will work best to teach it, and you sequence the supporting content by plugging it into the sequence of organizing content where most appropriate, based primarily on the principle of just-in-time learning. But before designing the instruction, it is helpful to see if there is any existing instruction that fits your situation, because that could save you a lot of time and money. Also, check on your resource requirements and their availability and adjust your designs accordingly as you proceed. Now you can elaborate your mid-level instructional designs, media selections, and assessments to the full level of detail needed for developing the instruction. This entails selecting instructional formats, designing the coaching and instruction, tailoring media to both, and designing motivational support. And of course, you formatively evaluate and revise the ADE document as appropriate. At this point, the instruction still has not been developed, so expert review is still the only practical way to do formative evaluations. But that will change as you now enter the development stage. These are clearly not all the features that we think make this model a considerable improvement over other models available. You may find other features of ours to be more innovative. Our book also offers student exercises for those of you who choose to use it in your courses. No model is perfect, and no model should remain static. We want your feedback, and we provide a mechanism on our website for you to give us suggestions and for us to share those suggestions with all who use the holistic 4D model. We also want suggestions for improving the book, the way we communicate the model. Finally, our website can support you in several ways. First, it provides templates for ADE documents that you can download and modify to suit your needs. We also hope that professors will share cases that students have developed in their courses so that we can make them available to other professors and students, giving full credit to the student, professor, and university.
Now, we would love to hear any comments or questions you may have.